and welcome back to the place where we have a very cozy, informal chat as friends in their late 20s or maybe early 30s and talk about all the different dilemmas and tensions that we navigate in this age and the things that I have been noticing in my own life that create some sort of contradiction or tension, but life means that we have to face them and just live with them and find where our balance is. Today's one came to my mind because I have noticed just how good I am at survival mode. What I'm realizing is that the survival mode skills that I have and I've been polishing over the years are actually holding me back from thriving mode. And I am coming to a point where it's starting to annoy me. It's quite frustrating how the survival skills have led me to be honest, kind of lack some of the things that I want to have eventually, like very good self-belief and optimism. So I want to talk about the difference between survival mode versus thriving, and maybe you'll be able to relate. I'd be curious to hear your own examples of this stuff if you have any. While we do this, I'm gonna have a coffee because I'm an addict in this mug that makes me very happy because I've painted it myself, so it's exactly the colors that I wanted. I love a lot of blue, a lot of green, a pop of yellow, as you can see in the sofa behind me. So yes, we're having a cappuccino. Cappuccino is my coffee of choice, usually with oat milk, because just a preference, really. I enjoy the taste of it. I hope you're having a nice cozy drink as well where you are. All right, let's begin with trying to understand where we acquire things like this, because like I said, for me, some examples of the survival skills that I have include being very good in a crisis. I tend to spring to action if it's a genuine emergency. If I need to help someone else, then I'm usually the one who is kind of rushing to do that. And among those things, there's also stuff like I'm very vigilant. That's a survival skill. I'm very in tune with people's emotions. I can sense a change of mood very easily. That leads to sometimes me being a bit too oversensitive, overreactive. And when it comes to thriving mode, I think this survival skill of being super vigilant, which a lot of people who are a bit on the anxious side can relate to, I think it leads you to exhaust yourself by trying to prevent every single little bad thing happening, because I think the reason that you've developed that skill in the first place is that you wanted to preempt any upset. So you've become very, very in tune with emotions and the things around you. As a result, you thought that, well, that will mean that I won't have to deal with the negative stuff because I'm not upsetting anyone. I kind of tune my behavior so that it's pleasing to others. And of course, that's where the people pleasing and toning down your own needs in favor of other people's so that you don't upset anyone. That's where it originates. And I'm sure lots of you can relate. It's something that I've noticed in a lot of kind of key relationships in my life where I was the anxious one and it was not fun for anyone involved, really. And for myself, I think I was so hyper-focused on how the other person is feeling that I would kind of ask that before I even ask myself, how am I feeling? And what am I thinking about the situation? That's one example. I think the other one is having a level of skepticism about things. I think maybe there's a cultural element to it. Maybe it's the Russianness in me. I always lean towards being realistic, but realistic is kind of subjective. And also I've been, I don't know, kind of on the edge of the whole conversation about manifesting and visualizing and how that can help actually change your life. And I always was like, it sounds nice, but there's no way that's gonna work for me. And that is the skepticism in me, which wants to, again, kind of prevent upset in myself when it doesn't work. But when it comes to thriving mode, what I think distinguishes people who do thrive is you do need a bit of that deluluness, if that's a word, and belief in something for that to actually manifest in your life. And I think even if you don't buy into the whole manifesting, woo-woo thing, you could still probably get on board with the fact that scientifically, if you are framing your mind in a more positive way, then through things like perception bias and confirmation bias, you will just perceive the world in a better way. And that will make your life better and more positive. So as much as I've tried to kind of be like, doesn't sound realistic, but I think looking at like genuinely the way psychology works, I can see how it would help, even if all the like universe spiritual stuff is not the case, which you may or may not be on board with. I am not sure myself if I am. The whole point of, I think, this chat is that I have been just noticing how being very good at the survival mode is making me very bad, actively bad at thriving, because thriving requires unlearning that stuff and maybe keeping it in the back pocket, because sometimes emergencies happen and you might need to go into that, mode, but it requires some very, very different skills. And a parallel that I want to draw is with entrepreneurship, which I've been exploring the past year. And what really stuck with me was someone saying that the skills that have made you a very good student before are the exact skills that would make you incredibly bad entrepreneur, because it just requires a different skill set. And I can relate to that so incredibly much, because I've always been a very good student. And I think this is kind of the parallel with survival mode. I've always been a very good student, trying to get things right, trying to learn everything, control everything to the extent possible. If only I study more, then I'll get better results. If only I do my homework perfectly, then I'll get good grades. Because the system is kind of built in a way where those skills genuinely do help. Coffee pause. However, as an entrepreneur, not only do you need to be more risk loving, which I struggle with, but you also need completely different mindsets and skills. For example, comfort level with failure, and actually seeking failure and trying things before they're good, and going and speaking with people before you've even formed your idea and before you sound like a complete established expert, which is the exact opposite of what we were taught in school. And I think it takes a certain type of personality to kind of get to the point where you lean that way. You lean towards risk, you lean towards embracing failure and just trying things quickly and getting feedback and being comfortable with feedback, especially if it's critical. But also, it's something that can be learned. At least I believe so. I'd like to believe that we're not completely doomed by the personality that we have, and that we can slowly, with time and with tuning our actions, we can actually tune the way we are and the way we think. I think it's hard to do that, but I'm sure it's possible. And the thing that helps the most is just practice and trying. Because even with social media, the first time that I posted something, I was so incredibly terrified. I actually had, I could feel my heart beating to the point where I thought, maybe I need to not do this, otherwise I'll have some sort of heart attack from the panic that flooded me with the thought of, oh, someone will see it and they're going to judge me so much. They're going to think I'm so cringe. They're going to think that, who does she think she is? They're going to think that, oh my God, she speaks so badly. Or her thoughts are clunky. Or this is a stupid video. And all of that stuff was genuinely stopping me from trying it for months before I ever did. And then I did the first one. I published it and I didn't tell anyone about it because I was so scared of judgment. I took about I think 2 or 3 years to ever mention my YouTube channel on my Instagram, on my personal Instagram, which is kind of now a dance Instagram, just because I was scared of what people will say. And I think that is exactly my survival skill set, talking. Because if you are in a collective, then your brain is wired to not be expelled from that collective, and it does everything it can to prevent you from doing stupid stuff that is gonna get you unliked, So you conform because of that, and you don't express your opinion fully because of that, and you don't do things that are a bit unconventional because of it. I'm sure now it would maybe be a bit more, I don't know, acceptable because you have so many people around that try social media, and it's a bit more familiar to hear that someone is doing content or posting on YouTube. But I think when I started, even though I was already well into the YouTube era, but 4 years ago when I started for the first time, I didn't have any friends that were doing it, and I didn't know anyone in person that was doing it. It was this very weird thing that I was afraid to admit to people. I think even saying to someone that, oh, I post on YouTube, I wouldn't even say I'm a YouTuber or I'm a content creator. Because that still feels very far. Maybe content creator. I would say content creator. That would send me into such an overthinking loop of, oh my goodness, what are they gonna think? What are they gonna... If I were in my thriving mode, I would just be like, you know what? I'm gonna commit to this. I'm gonna do this for some years. And I really enjoy sharing about this topic. I really enjoy having informal chats like this. I hope you enjoy it too. I'm doing it because I'm enjoying it. I'm doing it because I hope that at some point it brings me income, and I think it will connect with people and it will help people feel a bit less alone on the journey, and we can share this comfortable, safe space to discuss things. That would be thriving mode, and thriving mode does not care as much about what other people think, because it realizes that you're not being chased by a tiger, and actually you don't need this survival skill of not being disliked by anyone, so being liked by everyone. I think it's kind of a bit of a fight between nature and nurture in a way, because I would love at some point to care less about other people's opinions, but it's a very uphill battle because my brain is wired a different way. And especially with the layer of people pleasing and anxiety and like being very, very in tune with other people's emotions, I find it hard to not be affected when someone is disappointed with me or displeased with me. Even if I think about it, it's okay. Because unless we're talking about, I don't know, your toddler not liking you, but we're adults and we can handle our emotions, and it's fine if someone doesn't like you. And also that still means that you can be communicating with them with respect and gentleness, and it doesn't have to become a big thing. You just, you have some negative emotions and it's fine. So I think in that sense, thriving mode is kind of realizing that the things that have formed at a point where you were maybe following more of your instincts and you were just going through a difficult situation, or just the stuff that is innately in us as humans, from an evolutionary point of view, that sometimes it doesn't serve us anymore and we don't need it anymore. There's kind of two camps of people. When one says that, well, this is how evolution made us and you can't control it, and I really disagree, because people use it to justify some very some very violent things, or like very cruel things that are illegal and should never be done. And I think people are just saying that, well, you can't control your desire if you're a man. There's been this trend recently on Instagram, which I've been really liking, where the caption says that, oh, like he couldn't control himself because she was wearing X, Y, or Z or whatever. And then there's the video of a woman holding like very, very yummy dog snacks or like meat, and these big dogs next to her, like, I don't know, like Rottweilers or, whatever, like the very conventionally seen as aggressive dogs. And they're just patiently waiting because she's holding it and she put it there, but she can let them know with the intention and the energy that they can't have it. So it's a no. And then the dogs are just there and fully able to control themselves because we don't have to stay the way that evolution intended us. And we don't have to use that to justify doing very bad things. So I just thought it was an interesting example where this whole argument of, well, that's how we're programmed, or, well, that's how I was, raised, that does not stand, because we can change. And yes, it's hard, but I think if someone is willing, you can. And the whole reason why, for example, we've created a whole enormous systems around this. There used to be no cities, there used to be no law, there used to be no courts and all of that stuff. And there didn't used to be codes of conduct at work, and there was not even the work. You would just kind of do what you need to survive and provide for yourself and your family. All of that stuff we've constructed as people, and that has made civilization as we know it. And to just say that, oh, we can't control our instincts at all, and I couldn't yes, you can control yourself. And I think in the same way, well, maybe not in the same way, but in a similar way, yes, maybe you were raised in a particular way, or yes, maybe you were going through a very bad relationship which has made you very untrusting and anxious, right? That doesn't mean that you have to stay that way forever. And that doesn't mean that the survival mode is kind of like, this is your sentence. That's it. You can get out of it slowly with some behavior changes, with trying some mindset changes. But it's difficult and it takes years sometimes. I think I kind of look back to myself, say, at 18 years old, when I was so incredibly quiet and so shy and very insecure. And I think about how far I've come, and it's absolutely mind-boggling to me. Like, how did I do that? Because I'm way happier with my body. I'm way more confident. I talk, not only here, but also in person. I enjoy talking with people. I enjoy meeting new people. I feel so much more grounded in who I am. And I still struggle with a lot of things as well. But I've come a long way. And all of us have. I'm sure all of us have. And that just goes to show that change is possible. It just takes time and effort. And I really think that the thriving mode takes a lot of intentional practice. Something that I was trying, well, with the help of a previous therapist that I had, was doing a gratitude journal and also doing a positive log. Because at the time I was really struggling with, well, gratitude is just a thing that I'm sure everyone can benefit from, because I think it's even proven by research that it makes your life better, because you feel more positive about what you already have and not as lacking as maybe your brain wants you to feel. But the positive log was very helpful in addressing my struggles with the toxic productivity stuff, because I was approaching a break. I was about to have some time off, and I was feeling such incredible pressure to do so much. And I had some time where I just couldn't, and I was just completely burnt out at the time, and I couldn't bring myself to do all the stuff that I thought I had to do, because I wanted to be productive with the time. And the positive log was meant to show me that here are all the things, even if they're very small, that I'm already doing to get closer to my goals. And, if intellectually you say that, oh, one of my goals is to get better with my mental health and to recover and to rest, it's very helpful sometimes to just see that, look, you're doing the things to bring you closer to that. And yes, your other goal might be to work on the content, to work on the business stuff or whatever. But just seeing that this is not time wasted. I am actually moving closer to my goals. Rest is productive. At the time, that really helped me to give myself the credit for it's fine if I didn't take off 10 to-do items in a day because I'm still moving closer towards my goals, some of them being emotional and mental health related. And I could honestly do with that now sometimes too, because that's the type of stuff that can help unwire things like toxic productivity and working all the time and never resting. And I have had the exact same struggle recently where I was on a short week in my dance university where I'm on a career break right now. We have short weeks instead of half term, and that is just a half week break twice in a term. And when I had the first one, I had so many plans because I thought, okay, I have a few days free. That means they have to be the most insanely productive days, and I need to do all of this stuff that I've accumulated that I've not had time for, and all the admin and all the entrepreneurial ideas and all the content and do everything. And then I realized that, oh, this was supposed to be for resting, and I have not done that. So what I tried to do after I had that fail is very simple. It's moving rest in my to-do list to the top. And I've tried it on one of the days in the second short week. I tried just having rest as my first to-do item of the day. And until I have done it, I could not proceed to doing the other things. And that was very nice. And that's what I mean by intentional effort. I am not saying this from a point of an expert at all because I struggle with this a lot. I think forcing myself to rest and seeing rest as productive and recharging, the way I say it is because intellectually I know it, but emotionally it's quite hard to get into that. I am still working on it. I'll probably be working on it for a while until I get there, or if I ever will. But I think it helps. Every little bit helps to move you closer to what the thriving would look like. And I think at the moment, for me, a big challenge is the self-belief. So I'm very good at being objective. And, well, is anyone good at being objective? I don't know. But I think I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses. But I have a very, very ingrained skepticism about what I want to achieve. Because I've got all these ambitions, but I don't actually have the belief that I will get there. And that's a bit depressing to say, right? Because then what's the point of trying if you already know that you're going to fail? And the thing that they say is that, well, if you think you're going to fail, then you're right. And if you think you're going to succeed, then you're also right. That's the bit that I want to kind of integrate into my mindset a bit more. It's that actually the self-belief element is often not rooted in any sort of objective stuff, if you think about it. In the same way that, people talk about beauty as, yes, like there are all the objective things. There's like face symmetry or whatever else, and like there are different things that are perceived as more attractive. That in no way correlates with the confidence. And that has always been fascinating to me because there are some people who are incredibly beautiful, I think, and then they just are so insecure. Maybe because of the industry that they're in. Like, for example, if you're in, I don't know, modeling or something like that, then it can be very harsh industry. Or in dance as well, there's lots of cultural things that can affect your body image and, how you perceive yourself. And then there are some people who would have, I don't know, like the exact same looks, the exact same body shape, and they will be incredibly confident. And that goes for any look and body shape that you can think of. There will be people who are very, very insecure, and there'll be people who are very, very, very confident. So the self-belief doesn't come from objective stuff. Happiness also doesn't come from objective stuff. There are people who have all the incredible living conditions and, the things, the infrastructure, the money, the freedom, or whatever else, and they're not happy. It does make you think, how much of this is actually in my control? Because so often we tie the confidence and the happiness to outcomes. We say that when I achieve this thing, that's when I'm going to have enough proof to believe in myself. Or when I am of this body shape because I've been working out, then I'm going to have the confidence. And I'm going to feel beautiful and so on and so on. And you come to realize at some point that actually no, because it will never happen unless you change the thing at the core, which is the confidence, the self-belief, the happiness. And you can be confident, believe in yourself and happy now if you choose to. Of course, there are exceptions and people go through insane situations and very tough circumstances. And I'm not really talking about those. But in a lot of kind of day-to-day cases, we could just choose to believe in ourselves. And I think that is the thriving mode that I really aspire to. Being like, yes, I'm on this journey. And regardless of where I am in terms of how long it's been, or how much content I've put out, or how much exposure it's getting, or whether or not I'm earning from it. Regardless of that, I can choose to have self-belief and say that, I back myself. I think this could connect with someone. This is nice. And I'm going to persevere. And in the same way, I think the self-confidence. I have not really hugely changed in the way that I look from when I was 18, except I, of course, look older now. And I have a few wrinkles for me because I've been smiling and I've been surprised and, I have been living. But other than that, I still have the same hair-ish, I still have the same facial features, I still have not the same body, but it's similar enough, and I feel so much more confident. So it's not in the body shape or the hair or the face that the confidence is. I've heard from some people that when you hit 30, that is like the land of bliss where you just become so much more confident in yourself and you stop caring as much about what others think of you. And I can sense that approaching. I think it's coming. I'm definitely making a lot of progress with how I perceive myself visually. And I think the confidence and like the not caring of what other people think is maybe the next step for me. So yeah, and I think the thriving mode is all about finding ways to get to the confidence and get to the self-belief and get to the happiness regardless of the objective things. And that takes unlearning the unhelpful patterns that you've accumulated, because I have accumulated so many. It's actually insane. And if I dig into it, of course, instead of being frustrated, I will probably be understanding that I can see how it was helping me at some point. I can see how it was helping me at some point to maybe be on the quieter side, or to not say anything controversial, or to just try and be liked by everyone, or, do my homework all the time correctly, and just like be a very quiet, like teacher's pet, A student, and all of that stuff. I can see how it was helping to keep me safe, let's say. Not physically safe, thankfully. Again, I didn't have to. But emotionally, just in a little bubble of protection, supposedly. Because that's how the younger me thought that she would stay the, least affected by the outside world and whatever. And now I would really like to unlearn those things. Some of those things. They can be useful sometimes, but some of those things are actively preventing me from thriving. And you might have the exact same thing where the patterns that you have acquired and learned before that got you through maybe teenage years or like whatever else, it's holding you back now. There's a book called The Mountain Is You And I've not read it. I would like to, though. But the whole concept of it is that the biggest obstacle that you have is yourself. And I can really, really see that. I can see how that's the case. I just thought I would share this and ask if you have something similar that's holding you back at the moment, that you have accumulated across the years, the different patterns, the mindsets, the behaviors that you have, that now you're actually thinking, you know what, I could do with not having those at the forefront, and I could lead with something else that would serve me better. Let me know what that is in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.